The unexpected inheritance. Ethan Mitchell sat at his cluttered kitchen table, staring at the envelope that had arrived that morning. It was addressed in elegant script with no return address. The only thing that caught his eye was the wax seal depicting an intricate emblem he had never seen before. Curiosity gnawed at him as he carefully broke the seal and unfolded the letter inside. "Dear Ethan," it began. "If you are reading this, it means I have passed on without revealing my greatest secret. You are the last descendant of the Aldridge line, a lineage tied to extraordinary wealth and power beyond your imagination." Ethan's heart raced as he read on. The letter detailed an inheritance left by his great-uncle Harold Aldridge, who had vanished decades ago under mysterious circumstances. According to the letter, Harold had been involved in something much larger than mere earthly affairs. He had connections to an alien civilization known as the Zilorians. What in the world? Ethan muttered under his breath as he tried to process the information. He had always thought of himself as an ordinary guy living in a small town with dreams far bigger than his reality allowed. A fortune? An alien connection? It felt like something out of a science fiction novel. Determined to uncover the truth behind his great-uncle's legacy, Ethan decided to seek help. He remembered hearing about Mira Collins, a local historian known for her eccentricity and vast knowledge of obscure topics. If anyone could help him make sense of this bizarre inheritance, it would be her. After a quick search online, he found her contact information and hesitated for just a moment before dialing her number. A cheerful voice answered on the other end. "Hello. You've reached Mira Collins. If you're looking for historical insights or just want to chat about ancient civilizations, I'm your gal." "Hi, Mira," Ethan said nervously. "My name is Ethan Mitchell. I found something unusual regarding my family history and thought you might be able to help me." Mira's tone shifted instantly from cheerful to intrigued. "Oh? Do tell. I'm all ears." Ethan explained the contents of the letter and how it hinted at not only wealth but also connections to extraterrestrial beings. There was a brief silence on the line before Mira burst into laughter. "Extraterrestrial connections? This is fantastic. When can we meet?" They agreed to meet at a quaint coffee shop downtown later that afternoon. As Ethan drove there, he couldn't shake off a sense of disbelief mixed with excitement. Could this really lead him to something extraordinary? When he arrived at the cafe, he spotted Mira immediately. She was hard to miss with her vibrant purple hair and eclectic clothing that seemed inspired by various historical eras all at once. She waved enthusiastically as he approached. "Ethan. So glad you made it," she exclaimed as they shook hands. After ordering their drinks, Ethan opted for black coffee while Mira chose something colorful with whipped cream. They settled into a cozy corner table. "So tell me more about this letter," Mira urged as she leaned in closer. Ethan recounted every detail from Harold's message while Mira listened intently, occasionally jotting down notes on her tablet. "This is incredible," she finally said after he finished recounting everything. Harold Aldridge was known in some circles as an eccentric inventor. There are rumors that he was working on technology that could communicate with other worlds. "What do you mean?" Ethan asked, intrigued but confused. Mira explained how Harold had been obsessed with ancient myths surrounding extraterrestrial beings visiting Earth throughout history. Many believed he had discovered something significant but never revealed it before disappearing. "Your family might have been part of something much larger than you realize," she concluded. Ethan felt a mix of pride and bewilderment. Could he really be part of such a legacy? "So what do we do next?" Mira's eyes sparkled with excitement as she suggested visiting an old library rumored to house rare texts related to alien civilizations and their interactions with humanity. "Let's go. We might find clues about your great-uncle's work or even more about these Zilorians," she said eagerly. As they left the cafe together, Ethan felt a newfound sense of purpose igniting within him. This adventure was just beginning, and who knew what secrets awaited them in those dusty old books? They arrived at the library, a grand building adorned with ivy climbing its stone walls, just before closing time. Inside, rows upon rows of ancient tomes lined the shelves like guardians of forgotten knowledge. Mira led them through narrow aisles until they reached a section dedicated to extraterrestrial studies. Dust motes danced in shafts of light filtering through high windows as she pulled out various volumes filled with illustrations of celestial beings and strange technologies. "This one looks promising," she exclaimed as she opened a book titled The Chronicles of Intergalactic Encounters. As they flipped through pages filled with sketches depicting alien landscapes and star maps, Ethan felt as if they were unearthing pieces of his family's hidden past. Each page turned was like peeling back layers of time itself. Suddenly, one particular illustration caught his eye, a depiction resembling the emblem from his great-uncle's letter alongside notes detailing an ancient prophecy about Earth's chosen ones connecting with Zilorian descendants. "This is it!" Ethan exclaimed excitedly as he pointed at the illustration. Mira leaned closer to examine it more thoroughly. "This could mean your family has been part of something significant all along. We need to dig deeper into this." They spent hours poring over texts until they were interrupted by Mr. Thompson, the elderly librarian who had been observing them quietly from behind his desk. "You two seem quite interested in our collection," he remarked with a knowing smile. "What brings you here?" Ethan hesitated but decided honesty was best. After all, Mr. Thompson seemed friendly enough. "I found this letter from my great-uncle about our family's connection to aliens," he explained quickly. Mr. Thompson raised an eyebrow but nodded thoughtfully. "Ah yes. The Aldridge line. I've heard whispers about them over the years." Ethan exchanged glances with Mira. Perhaps they were onto something significant after all. "Do you know anything more?" Mira asked eagerly. Mr. Thompson stroked his chin thoughtfully before speaking again. "I recall some old records mentioning Harold Aldridge's experiments involving communication devices, but those documents have been lost for decades." Disappointment washed over them both momentarily until Mr. Thompson added, "However, there are rumors that some artifacts related to his work may still exist, hidden away in private collections." Ethan felt a surge of determination. If there were artifacts tied to his family's legacy out there somewhere, he needed to find them. As they left the library under the fading light of dusk, Ethan couldn't shake off an overwhelming sense that this journey would change everything for him, not just financially but also in understanding who he truly was in relation to this vast universe filled with mysteries waiting to be uncovered, secrets of the ancients. Ethan and Mira stood in the dimly lit library, their minds racing with the possibilities that lay ahead. After their initial discovery about the Aldridge lineage and its connection to extraterrestrial beings, they were eager to dig deeper into the mystery surrounding Ethan's family. As they sifted through ancient texts, a sense of urgency filled the air. Time was of the essence. The hidden artifact. Mira pulled out a particularly dusty tome, its spine cracked and pages yellowed with age. "This one looks promising," she said, brushing off the dust. The title read, Chronicles of the Celestial Alliance. As she flipped through the pages, her eyes widened. "Ethan, look at this." Ethan leaned closer, his heart pounding as he caught sight of an illustration depicting a celestial map. It showed various planets connected by glowing lines, suggesting a network of intergalactic alliances. "This must be related to your great-uncle's work," Mira exclaimed. "Do you think there could be something here that explains why he was hiding this information?" Ethan asked, his curiosity piqued. Mira nodded enthusiastically. "Let's keep looking. There might be clues about artifacts or even the Zilorians themselves." As they continued their search, Ethan couldn't shake off the feeling that they were on the brink of uncovering something monumental. He recalled Zoratha's earlier words about his family's importance in an intergalactic alliance. What if Harold Aldridge had been a key figure in this alliance? The professor's insight. After hours of searching, they decided to consult Professor Langston, an expert in ancient civilizations and extraterrestrial studies known for his eccentric theories. They drove to his university office, where bookshelves overflowed with texts on mythology and astronomy. "Ah! Ethan. Mira. What brings you two here?" Professor Langston greeted them with enthusiasm as they entered his cluttered office. Ethan explained their findings from the library and shared the letter from his great-uncle. The professor listened intently, stroking his beard thoughtfully. "This is indeed fascinating," he said after Ethan finished. "The Aldrich family has long been rumored to have connections to otherworldly beings. But if what you say is true, it could change everything we know about our history." Mira chimed in, "We found a celestial map that suggests an intergalactic alliance. Do you think there could be artifacts linked to this?" Professor Langston's eyes sparkled with excitement. "It's possible. Many ancient cultures believed in celestial beings visiting Earth. If your great-uncle was involved in such research, he might have left behind artifacts or notes indicating their significance." Ethan felt a surge of hope. "Where should we start looking?" "There's a private collection nearby owned by an eccentric collector who specializes in extraterrestrial artifacts," Professor Langston suggested. "He may have information or items related to your family's legacy." The collector's domain. With newfound determination, Ethan and Mira set off to visit the collector's estate, an imposing mansion filled with oddities from around the world. As they approached, Ethan felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. The mansion loomed before them like a relic from another time. They were greeted by Mr. Caldwell, an elderly man with wild hair and thick glasses that magnified his eyes comically. "Welcome. Welcome. What brings you to my humble abode?" he exclaimed, ushering them inside. As they stepped into the dimly lit foyer, Ethan marveled at the collection surrounding them. Strange artifacts lined the walls, each carrying its own story. Mr. Caldwell led them through various rooms filled with curiosities from different cultures. "We're interested in any artifacts related to extraterrestrial civilizations," Mira explained as they walked. Mr. Caldwell's eyes gleamed with intrigue. "Ah! You're in luck. I recently acquired several pieces that may interest you." He led them to a room at the back of the house where shelves were lined with unusual items, strange crystals, metallic objects, and scrolls inscribed with unfamiliar symbols. Ethan's heart raced as he examined a peculiar object resembling a small orb covered in intricate designs that seemed to pulse faintly with energy. "What is this?" he asked. "That," Mr. Caldwell replied excitedly, "is said to be a communication device used by an ancient civilization believed to have made contact with Earth long ago." Mira leaned closer, her eyes wide with wonder. "Do you know how it works?" "I've tried deciphering its function but had little success," Mr. Caldwell admitted. "However, I believe it might hold secrets related to intergalactic communication." Ethan felt a connection between this artifact and his family's history. It was as if they were piecing together a puzzle that had been scattered across time and space. The revelation. As they continued their exploration of Mr. Caldwell's collection, Mira stumbled upon an old journal tucked away on a shelf covered in dust. She carefully opened it and gasped as she read aloud passages detailing encounters between humans and extraterrestrial beings throughout history. "Ethan! This journal mentions your great-uncle Harold," she exclaimed. Ethan leaned over her shoulder as she read passages describing Harold's research on alien technology and his interactions with beings from other worlds. The journal also contained sketches resembling symbols found on the stasis pod described in Ethan's great-uncle's letter. "This is incredible," Ethan said breathlessly. "It's like we're uncovering his entire life's work." Suddenly, Mr. Caldwell interrupted their excitement with a serious expression on his face. "You must understand, some knowledge is dangerous," he warned gravely. "There are those who seek these artifacts for power rather than understanding." Ethan felt a chill run down his spine at Mr. Caldwell's words. What if there were others searching for these secrets? He glanced at Mira, who looked equally concerned. "We need to protect this information," Mira said firmly. "Agreed," Ethan replied resolutely. We must find out what else my great-uncle left behind before it falls into the wrong hands. A new alliance. As they prepared to leave Mr. Caldwell's estate with newfound knowledge and artifacts in hand, Ethan couldn't shake off an overwhelming sense of responsibility weighing on him. Not only was he uncovering secrets about his family but also stepping into a larger narrative involving intergalactic alliances and potential threats. Let's meet again soon, Professor Langston suggested as they exited the mansion into the cool evening air. I want to analyze these artifacts further. Ethan nodded appreciatively. He knew they would need all the help they could get moving forward. As night fell over their small town, Ethan felt invigorated by their discoveries yet anxious about what lay ahead. He was no longer just an ordinary guy, he was part of something extraordinary that spanned galaxies beyond comprehension. With Mira by his side and allies forming around them, Ethan felt ready to confront whatever challenges awaited him in unraveling his family's legacy, a legacy tied not only to wealth but also to knowledge that could alter humanity's understanding of its place in the universe forevermore. The alien connection. As Mike stood at the threshold of his grandfather's house, he felt a mix of anxiety and anticipation. The weight of the secrets he had uncovered pressed heavily on his shoulders. Alina, the alien woman from the stasis pod, was now a part of his life, and he had no idea how to navigate this new reality. He glanced back at her, her emerald skin shimmering in the kitchen light as she examined a toaster with childlike curiosity. Okay, Alina, Mike said, trying to keep his voice steady. We need to figure out what we're dealing with here. You mentioned something about being hunted by the Galactic Council. What exactly does that mean? Alina turned to face him, her luminous eyes reflecting a seriousness that sent a shiver down his spine. The Galactic Council is an interstellar governing body that enforces laws across multiple civilizations. I was accused of crimes I did not commit, specifically, of possessing knowledge that could threaten their control over our galaxy. Mike ran a hand through his hair, trying to process her words. So you're saying they want to capture you because you know something important? What kind of knowledge? She stepped closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. I possess information about an ancient technology that could alter the balance of power in the galaxy. Your grandfather helped me hide from them when I first fled, but it seems they have finally found my location. The implications of her words hung in the air like a storm cloud ready to burst. Mike felt a surge of protectiveness for Alina. She was not just an alien fugitive, she was someone who had trusted him with her life. What can we do? He asked, determination creeping into his voice. A plan takes shape. Alina's expression softened as she considered their options. First, we must locate any records your grandfather left behind regarding my presence here. He may have documented his research or even created safeguards against the Council's reach. Right, Mike said, feeling a sense of urgency. Let's check his study first. They made their way through the house, with Mike leading the way to his grandfather's study, a room filled with bookshelves crammed with volumes on archaeology and ancient civilizations. The air smelled musty, and dust motes danced in the shafts of light filtering through the window. Alina scanned the room with keen interest as they entered. Your grandfather was quite knowledgeable, she remarked, picking up a book titled Intergalactic Relations, a Historical Overview. Mike chuckled nervously. Yeah, he had a thing for obscure topics. He began rifling through drawers and cabinets while Alina examined various artifacts displayed on shelves. After several minutes of searching, Mike finally found what he was looking for, a large leather-bound journal tucked away in a corner. This might be it, he exclaimed as he opened it carefully. The pages were filled with notes written in his grandfather's meticulous handwriting. Alina leaned over his shoulder to read along as he flipped through the pages. He documented everything, the encounters with other civilizations, theories about ancient technologies, and here, she pointed excitedly at a passage detailing an artifact known as the Celestial Beacon. What's that? Mike asked. The celestial beacon is said to be a device capable of amplifying energy signatures across vast distances, Alina explained. If your grandfather possessed it or knew how to create one, it could be used to communicate with other worlds or even protect against threats like the Galactic Council. Mike felt a thrill run through him. This was exactly what they needed, a way to safeguard Alina and potentially uncover more about their shared destiny. A dangerous encounter. Just as they began discussing how to locate this artifact, there was a loud crash from outside followed by frantic voices. Mike's heart raced as he exchanged worried glances with Alina. "Do you think they've found us?" he whispered urgently. Alina's eyes glowed faintly as she focused her energy. "I cannot sense their presence yet, but we must be cautious." They hurriedly moved to the window and peered outside. A group of men in dark uniforms was approaching the house, their expressions grim and determined. "Those are Galactic Council enforcers," Alina said, her voice barely above a whisper. "They've come for me." Mike felt panic rising within him but quickly pushed it aside. They needed a plan. "We can't let them take you. We have to hide." Alina nodded sharply. "Quickly. We can use the stasis pod, it may still have some energy left for camouflage." They dashed back down to the basement where the pod hummed softly in its secluded corner. Mike felt an odd mix of fear and excitement. This was unlike anything he had ever experienced before. As they reached the pod, Alina began working swiftly at its controls while Mike kept watch at the top of the stairs. "How long will it take?" he asked anxiously. "Just a moment," she replied, her fingers dancing over buttons and switches. Suddenly, there was another loud bang, this time at the front door, as it burst open with force. The enforcers had arrived. "Alina! We need to hurry!" Mike shouted as he heard footsteps pounding down the hallway toward them. The stasis pod activation. With one final press of a button, Alina activated the pod's camouflage feature just as two enforcers appeared at the bottom of the stairs. "Search everywhere," one shouted as they split up and began searching through boxes and debris. Mike held his breath as he watched them inch closer to their hiding spot. He could feel adrenaline coursing through him, every instinct screamed for him to protect Alina at all costs. "Stay quiet," Alina whispered urgently from within the pod as its surface shimmered into invisibility around them. The enforcers began rummaging through items scattered across the basement floor while Mike remained frozen in place behind an old wooden crate. "Nothing here," one said dismissively after checking several boxes filled with tools and old relics. "Keep looking," replied the other enforcer impatiently. "She has to be here somewhere." Mike's heart raced as they drew nearer. He could hear their breathing and feel their presence like an impending storm ready to break loose. Just then, one of them spotted something unusual, a faint glow emanating from behind some cluttered shelves near where Alina stood hidden within the pod's protective field. "Over there," he shouted, pointing toward their direction. A narrow escape. In that instant, Mike knew they had only seconds before their cover would be blown. He glanced at Alina. Her expression was one of fierce determination mixed with fear. She understood what was at stake. "Now," she commanded softly but firmly as she activated a secondary feature on the pod that created a temporary energy shield around them both. The enforcers lunged forward just as Mike felt an electric pulse ripple through him. He grasped onto Alina tightly as everything around them blurred into light before fading away completely. When they reappeared moments later outside in an alley behind his house, Mike stumbled slightly but quickly regained his footing. They were safe for now, but only temporarily. "What just happened?" he gasped as he looked around at their new surroundings, an alleyway lined with brick walls that seemed oddly familiar yet distant from where they had just been moments ago. "I activated my emergency teleportation protocol," Alina explained breathlessly while scanning their surroundings for any signs of danger. "It allows us to escape immediate threats." "Can you do that again?" Mike asked urgently, still processing everything that had just occurred. "Yes," she replied confidently but with caution in her tone. "But we must find shelter first. we cannot remain exposed. They quickly made their way down narrow streets illuminated by flickering lights until they reached an abandoned building, a perfect hideout for now where they could regroup and plan their next move without fear of being discovered again. As they stepped inside and closed the door behind them tightly shut against prying eyes outside, Mike looked over at Alina, who seemed both relieved yet troubled by what lay ahead. Their journey was far from over. Danger lurked around every corner while secrets awaited discovery within his grandfather's legacy. A legacy intertwined with galaxies beyond comprehension waiting patiently for them both to unravel its mysteries together once more. Journey to the unknown. The air in Mike's kitchen felt charged as he faced Alina, the alien who had emerged from the stasis pod hidden in his grandfather's basement. The weight of their shared secret hung heavily between them, and Mike couldn't shake the feeling that their lives were about to change forever. He had gone from an ordinary guy renovating a house to a reluctant guardian of an extraterrestrial being in a matter of days. "Okay, Alina," Mike said, trying to regain some control over the situation. "We need to figure out what's next. You mentioned that the Galactic Council is looking for you. What do we need to do to protect ourselves?" Alina's eyes glimmered with determination. "First, we must locate the celestial beacon, an artifact that can help us communicate with other civilizations and possibly shield us from the Council's reach." "Right," Mike replied, feeling a mix of excitement and trepidation. "But where do we even begin looking for this thing?" Alina pointed to the journal they had discovered earlier, which was now spread open on the kitchen table. "Your grandfather documented various locations where he believed ancient artifacts might be hidden. We should start there." Mike nodded, feeling a sense of purpose wash over him. "Let's dive into this journal then and see what we can find." The search begins. They spent hours poring over the journal, flipping through pages filled with sketches, maps, and notes written in his grandfather's meticulous handwriting. Each entry revealed clues about potential locations where artifacts might be found, abandoned ruins, ancient burial sites, and even places rumored to have been visited by extraterrestrial beings. "Here!" Alina exclaimed, pointing at a sketch of a site located deep within a forest not far from town. "This could be one of the places your grandfather mentioned as a potential location for the celestial beacon." Mike leaned closer to examine the drawing. It depicted an ancient stone structure covered in vines and surrounded by towering trees. "It looks like it hasn't been disturbed in years," he said thoughtfully. "Exactly," Alina replied, her excitement palpable. "If your grandfather believed it was significant enough to document, there's a chance he may have left clues or even artifacts there." "Then we should go check it out," Mike said decisively. Alina's expression shifted slightly, she seemed both eager and apprehensive. "I will need to maintain my camouflage while we're out in public. The Council may have spies everywhere." "Right," Mike said, remembering how she had transformed her appearance before Sarah arrived. "Let's make sure you're ready before we head out." Preparing for the expedition. After gathering supplies, flashlights, snacks, and climbing gear, Mike watched as Alina concentrated on her transformation again. Her skin shifted from its vibrant green hue to a more human tone, her hair darkened to a natural silver blonde color while retaining its ethereal quality. "There," she said, her voice steady as she looked at herself in the reflection of a nearby window. "I should be able to maintain this form for several hours without drawing attention." "Perfect," Mike replied, feeling a mix of admiration and anxiety as they prepared to leave the house behind them. The stasis pod continued humming softly in its dark corner like a heartbeat echoing their shared adventure. As they stepped outside into the crisp evening air, Mike felt both exhilarated and terrified. They were about to embark on a journey that could lead them into uncharted territory, both literally and metaphorically. The forest loomed ahead like an ancient sentinel guarding secrets long forgotten. Into the forest. The path leading into the woods was narrow and overgrown with weeds. Branches reached out like skeletal fingers trying to grasp at them as they walked deeper into the shadows. The sun dipped lower on the horizon, casting long shadows that danced across the ground. "Stay close," Mike said as they navigated through dense underbrush. Alina walked beside him, her senses heightened as she scanned their surroundings for any signs of danger. "What do you think we'll find?" she asked curiously. "I'm not sure," Mike admitted. "But if there's anything here related to your past or my grandfather's research, I want to uncover it." As they ventured further into the woods, they stumbled upon remnants of an ancient civilization, crumbling stone structures partially hidden by foliage and time. The air felt charged with energy as if whispers from long ago echoed through the trees. "This must be it," Alina exclaimed suddenly, pointing toward a large stone archway covered in moss and vines. Mike stepped closer, his heart racing as he examined the intricate carvings etched into the stone, a language he couldn't recognize but felt strangely familiar somehow. "What do you think it means?" he asked, glancing at Alina. "I believe it speaks of guardianship," she replied thoughtfully as she traced her fingers along one of the carvings. "Guardians who protected knowledge from those who would misuse it." "Sounds like something my grandfather would have been interested in," Mike said with a hint of pride. The discovery. As they explored further within the archway's embrace, they found themselves in a clearing surrounded by towering trees that formed a natural circle around them, a sacred space untouched by time. In the center stood an ancient pedestal made of stone, upon it lay an object covered by layers of dirt and leaves. "Alina!" Mike called out excitedly as he approached cautiously. He brushed away debris revealing what appeared to be a crystal orb pulsating with energy, a perfect sphere that shimmered in hues of blue and green. "This is incredible!" Alina gasped as she joined him at the pedestal. "The celestial beacon." Mike reached out carefully to lift it from its resting place. It felt warm against his palm, a heartbeat resonating through him as if it were alive. "What do we do now?" he asked breathlessly. Alina's eyes sparkled with excitement mixed with caution. "We must activate it, but first we need to ensure we are safe from any prying eyes." Just then, rustling sounds echoed from beyond their clearing. Instinctively they both turned toward the source, an ominous feeling creeping up Mike's spine. "Alina," he whispered urgently as shadows began shifting among trees surrounding them. "We must hurry," she urged him as they quickly placed the orb back into its protective cover before retreating behind one of the larger stones nearby, hearts pounding wildly against their chests. Facing danger. As they crouched low behind the stone structure trying not to make any noise, the rustling grew louder until figures emerged from between trees cloaked in dark clothing, Galactic Council enforcers. Mike held his breath while Alina's expression shifted into one of fierce determination. She had been right all along, they were being hunted. "We need to get out of here," Mike whispered urgently, but Alina shook her head firmly. "No. We cannot leave without activating the beacon. It may be our only chance at protection." "But what if they see us?" he protested anxiously, glancing at approaching figures whose voices grew clearer now, discussing plans for capturing her. "They won't if you trust me," Alina insisted, gripping his arm tightly while focusing her energy on maintaining her camouflage form once more. It shimmered around them like an invisible shield. As they watched silently, the enforcers began searching through remnants left behind by previous inhabitants, their voices filled with frustration as they realized something valuable was missing. "We must find her before she activates that device," one shouted angrily, causing Mike's heart rate to spike again. Alina turned toward him with fierce resolve shining through those emerald eyes. "We will not let them take us. Trust me." With that declaration echoing through him like thunderclaps, they sprang into action together, moving swiftly yet silently through shadows surrounding clearing, aiming towards safety beyond. As adrenaline coursed through their veins, their fates intertwined deeper than ever before, two unlikely allies facing down intergalactic threats determined to not just survive but uncover truths hidden among stars waiting patiently for them both. Unveiling the truth. The atmosphere in Mike's kitchen was thick with tension and curiosity as he faced the reality of his situation. Alina, the alien woman who had emerged from the stasis pod, stood before him, her emerald skin shimmering under the fluorescent lights. The juxtaposition of her otherworldly beauty against the mundane backdrop of his grandfather's home felt surreal. Mike felt a mix of excitement and dread. He was now entangled in a cosmic mystery that could change everything he knew about his family and himself. "Okay," Mike began, trying to regain some semblance of control over the situation. "Let's figure out what your connection to my grandfather really is. You mentioned something about being hunted by the Galactic Council. What exactly does that mean?" Alina's expression shifted from curiosity to seriousness. The Galactic Council governs multiple civilizations across the galaxy. They enforce laws intended to maintain order, but their methods can be ruthless. I was accused of possessing knowledge that could disrupt their control, a technology that could alter the balance of power. Mike rubbed his temples, trying to process her words. "And my grandfather helped you hide because..." "Because he understood," Alina replied, her voice steady yet filled with emotion. "He was not just an archaeologist, he was a guardian of knowledge. He recognized the potential dangers of such power falling into the wrong hands." "Right," Mike said, feeling overwhelmed. "So, what kind of technology are we talking about here? And why did you end up in that pod?" Alina took a deep breath, her eyes shimmering with memories that seemed just out of reach. "I was part of a research team studying ancient artifacts on my home planet, artifacts believed to be remnants of an advanced civilization that existed long before the Council came to power. We discovered a device capable of harnessing energy from stars, but before we could fully understand its implications, we were attacked." "Attacked?" Mike echoed, feeling a chill run down his spine. "Yes," she continued, her voice growing softer. "They wanted to seize control of the technology for themselves. I fled with what I could and sought refuge with your grandfather, who had been studying similar artifacts on Earth." Mike felt a surge of pride mixed with confusion. His grandfather had been more than just an eccentric old man, he had been part of something monumental. "So what happened after you arrived here?" "I was placed in stasis to hide my energy signature while your grandfather worked on a plan to protect me," Alina explained. "But something went wrong, I lost track of time and awoke only recently." "Great," Mike muttered sarcastically. "So now you're awake and the Council is still looking for you." "Indeed," Alina said, her expression turning serious again. "We must find a way to safeguard this knowledge before they come for it again." The search begins. Determined to uncover more about his grandfather's connection to Alina and the hidden technology, Mike led her back down to the basement where he had found the pod. The air was cooler down there, and dust particles danced in the beams of light filtering through small windows. "Let's see if we can find any records or artifacts that might help us understand what your grandfather was working on," Mike suggested as he began rummaging through boxes filled with old papers and equipment. Alina joined him, her keen eyes scanning each item as if searching for something specific. She picked up an old map covered in strange symbols and handed it to Mike. "What do you think this is?" she asked. Mike examined it closely. "It looks like some kind of star map, but I don't recognize any of these constellations." Alina leaned in closer, her fingers grazing over the symbols as they began to glow faintly under her touch. "This map may hold clues about ancient routes used by interstellar travelers." "Interstellar travelers?" Mike repeated incredulously. "Yes," she said, excitement creeping into her voice. "Civilizations that existed long before the Galactic Council came into power. Your grandfather must have known about them." As they continued searching through boxes and crates, they stumbled upon an old journal, the leather cover cracked but still intact. Mike opened it carefully and began reading aloud. "This journal details various encounters with extraterrestrial beings throughout history," he said slowly, flipping through pages filled with sketches and notes written in his grandfather's meticulous handwriting. Alina leaned closer, her eyes wide with interest as she absorbed every word. "Your grandfather documented these encounters? This is remarkable." "Yeah," Mike said, feeling a sense of pride swell within him as he read about his grandfather's adventures, how he had traveled to remote locations around the world seeking out artifacts tied to alien lore. Suddenly, one entry caught his eye. "I have encountered beings from another world who possess knowledge beyond our understanding. They warned me of a great danger looming over us. An organization known as the Galactic Council seeks to control all forms of advanced technology." Mike looked up at Alina, who appeared deep in thought. "This explains why your grandfather chose to help me," she murmured. "What else does it say?" Mike asked eagerly. "Many things, but it also mentions an artifact known as the Celestial Beacon, a device capable of amplifying energy signatures across vast distances." Alina's eyes sparkled with excitement. "If we can locate this artifact, it may allow us to communicate with other civilizations or even protect ourselves from the Council." Mike felt a rush of adrenaline at the thought. This could be their ticket out of danger. "Where do we start looking?" "A hidden chamber." Alina flipped through more pages until she found a sketch resembling their house layout along with notes indicating hidden compartments within its structure, compartments that might contain additional artifacts or clues. "This must be where your grandfather hid important items related to my research," she exclaimed. "Then let's find them," Mike replied enthusiastically. They began searching various rooms in the house based on the journal sketches, checking behind bookshelves, under floorboards, and even inside hollow walls where they discovered several hidden compartments filled with strange objects, crystals pulsating with energy, metallic devices whose functions were unknown, and more journals filled with sketches detailing alien civilizations. With each discovery, Mike felt more connected to his grandfather's legacy, a legacy intertwined not only with Earth's history but also with cosmic mysteries waiting patiently for someone brave enough to uncover them. Finally, after hours of searching through dusty old boxes and forgotten corners of his home, they stumbled upon a locked chest hidden beneath loose floorboards in what used to be his grandfather's study. "This must be it," Alina exclaimed as she knelt beside it excitedly. Mike examined the chest closely. It appeared ancient yet well-crafted, covered in intricate designs similar to those found on the pod. "How do we open it?" he asked curiously. Alina traced her fingers along its surface before stepping back slightly. She closed her eyes for a moment as if concentrating deeply on something unseen. "I believe I can unlock it using my energy," she said, finally opening her eyes again filled with determination. With a wave of her hand toward the chest's lock came an ethereal glow emanating from her fingertips. It pulsed rhythmically, matching their heartbeats until suddenly there was a loud click followed by silence. The lid creaked open slowly, revealing its contents, a collection of shimmering crystals along with several scrolls inscribed with symbols that glowed faintly under Alina's touch. "This is incredible," Mike breathed as he leaned closer, peering inside at what appeared like ancient texts detailing advanced technologies. Alina picked up one scroll, carefully unrolling it while studying its contents intently. Her expression shifted from excitement into something deeper, almost reverent, as she read aloud. "To those who seek knowledge beyond stars, heed this warning: the path is fraught with peril, only those pure of heart may wield such power." "What does that mean?" Mike asked anxiously, glancing between her focused gaze and scroll again. Was there some hidden message within? "I'm not sure yet," Alina replied, thoughtfully folding up scroll gently before placing it back inside chest carefully alongside other artifacts they'd uncovered so far. "But I sense these items hold great significance, not just for us, but for all civilizations across galaxies. We must protect them at all costs." Mike nodded resolutely, feeling adrenaline surge through him once more. This wasn't just about survival anymore, it was about safeguarding knowledge that could change everything. As they packed up their findings, carefully preparing for whatever challenges lay ahead, the hum from stasis pod faded into background noise behind them like distant echoes calling forth adventure waiting just beyond horizon.